Hola, bienvenidos a nuestro podcast, El Animal Inglewood, el podcast del mundo. Hoy nos acompañan nuestros increíbles presentadores, Jorge Gómez, Jimmy Vázquez y Delilah Ríos, y yo, Gamaliel Serna, el mejor presentador de todos los tiempos. Hoy vamos a hablar sobre el controvertido tema de la anexión de los estudiantes del último año de secundaria al próximo año. ¿Qué piensas de la anex?
Yo pienso que no está muy bien porque todos los estudiantes y los maestros van a estar separados y yo pienso que todos necesitan estar juntos.
Jimmy?
Pues yo pienso que es mala idea porque hay maestros que pues enseñan 2 grados, así como el 12 y a veces del grado 10. Y pues durante el día necesitan cambiar entre el annex y su propia clase en el campo de aquí de la escuela. Y pues también los estudiantes es muy difícil así pues solo estar solos así en el annex, separados de todos en la escuela.
¿Y Jorge?
Lo que yo pienso es que no creo que es mala idea, nomás es que los seniors están separados de todos los demás y no pueden estar como una comunidad, así todos juntos, una escuela.
Vamos a mover a 2 entrevistas de 2 maestros de nuestra escuela para ver qué piensan del annex.
How do you think the annex will affect student learning?
So, I think it depends. I think that so I didn't get to see the space when they did the teacher tours, but from what I heard, the classrooms are really nice. They have big windows. They look bright and sunny. So that might be a positive influence on student learning if they're in like a space that they feel proud of and that they know was built just for them. But the concern that I'm having about the annex is there are not going to be very many permanent teachers there. I think currently it's only Mr. Aceves and Ms. Crewlines who have a full line of senior classes. So everyone else is going to be running back and forth to teach between this building and the annex. And the problem with that is it just makes you less effective as a teacher if you don't have access to your things that you need. And so that's my biggest concern. So obviously if teacher effectiveness is impacted, then student learning is also going to be impacted. If I am running from this class to go teach AP Stats in the other building and I forget that I needed something for an experiment, then what am I doing? Also, we haven't even really been told for sure if we're gonna have, things over, a second set of things over in the annex. So do I have to bring my bag of calculators with me when I go over there? We don't know. So, it just, it's unfortunate because it could have been a really cool thing for our school to get some new space that we could be excited about, but kind of the way everything went down, where student, parent, and teacher voices weren't really taken into account, then it just leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth and a lot more questions than answers, unfortunately.
And so in summary, the annex you think will be beneficial or harmful to our school community?
I mean, I can't say that it's going to be harmful, but I also can't really say that it's going to be beneficial. I think it's going to be, I think eventually people will get used to it and it'll be what it is, but I think that there's just so much more that they could have done with the money that they used in renovating that space. Like if you think about all the things that our school could use, like we don't have a gym, we don't have a real cafeteria, we don't have like a auditorium, like there's just a lot of other things that could have been made in that space if they had asked, all the stakeholders, what is the best use of this space and this money. Because we already have vacant classrooms in this school building, right? There's classrooms already not being used, so what do we need 7 more classrooms in another building that's not even connected, that they won't allow people to go back and forth in between? It just isn't the best use of the space and the money, in my opinion.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
How do you think the annex will affect student learning?
I think the annex will affect student learning in a variety of ways. I think that the idea for seniors being down there is good, hypothetically. I do think that with a lot of teachers moving back and forth between the buildings. I think that can cause some issues, just even when it comes to like, you know, thinking about practically for a teacher, like being prepared for 2 different classrooms. Like, you know, do I have my markers? Do I have for math? Do I have all my calculators? What if they die? What if my Chromebooks aren't charged? Just all of the things that normally happen in the classroom times 2, I think would affect student learning more than the actual space of being in the annex. I think it's more comes down to teacher preparedness and potential for not being as prepared or just feeling rushed. I think we all have our own routines as teachers. Like we like to get here early or whatever it is, whatever your routine is. Like before I leave, I make sure I have everything done. I just think it becomes harder when there's 2 classrooms.
Okay, understood. And how do you think the annex will affect the quality of teaching that teachers like you provide?
I think kind of the same thing. I think it just becomes harder practically to maintain 2 things. So especially for classes like, for example, that have a lot of handouts, like am I on my prep period walking back and forth, you know, like making sure that both classrooms have the same things, just kind of preparing for the unexpected. And I think that's a lot easier when you have a home base or you have one classroom that you're used to. I think it'd be kind of like the same thing as, I don't know, don't you work in a restaurant? No, sorry. Just like kids that work in a restaurant or kids that work at wherever, right? I'd be like you having to, you know, work at the Panda Express on the street one day and then the Panda Express down the block the next day. It just becomes really hard, and it's like I think a lot more learning than ultimately necessary.
And so in summary, will the annex be beneficial or harmful to our school community?
I think that if you're trying to create just a senior community, it could be really good because the majority of seniors will be down there all the time. For school community, I think that it could potentially be harmful unless proper precautions are taken to make sure that everybody is together when we can be, and like the actual interactions between students. You know, I don't know if that's gonna look like at lunch or whatever that looks like, but they're meaningful and they're thought out. So there's some forethought put into it. I think it could be okay, but I do worry.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you for your
welcome.
time. Ya es todo el tiempo que tenemos en nuestro podcast de Animal Inglewood, el podcast del mundo. Gracias por ver y hasta luego. Bye.
Bye.